Good morning everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to learn about a graph theory, which is an important topic for BSc, MSc and any other higher studies. Now let's start graph theory. Now let us see the definition of a graph. A graph is defined as an ordered pair of two sets V and E, where V is the set of vertices and E is the set of edges. V is the non-empty, E may be empty. From this definition, we came to know that a graph is nothing but the set of vertices and the edges. And since graph is a set of vertices and edges, then the set of V cannot be empty, okay? Whereas E may be empty. Now let us see what is the end vertices of a graph. The vertices Vi, Vj associated with an edge Ek are it's called end vertices. Okay, consider this graph. You can see here v1, v2, v3, v4 and v5 are the vertices of this graph, and e1, e2, e3, e4 and e5 are the edges of this graph. Okay, then you can see here v1 and v2 is connected through an edge e1. Then these two vertices v1 and v2 are called the end vertices of the edge e1. Similarly, you can see here the another vertex v2 and v3, which is connected through an edge e2. Then v2 and v3 is known as the end vertices of the edge e2. Likewise, consider the another vertices v1 and v5, and these two vertices are connected through an edge e5. Then b1 and b5 is known as the end vertices of the edge e5. Okay, consider a graph with vertices and with the edges. The vertices b1, b2 associated with an edge e1 are the end vertices. Similarly, b2 and b3 associated with an edge e2 are the end vertices. Now let us see what is a self loop in a graph. Now let us define a self loop. An edge having the same vertices at its endpoint is called a self loop. That is, vertices vi associated with an edge A, then the edge A is called a self loop. As you can see here a graph, then in this graph you can see b1, b2, b3 is the vertex of this graph, and e1, e2, e3 and e4 are the edges of this graph. Okay, as you can see here in the vertex b1, an edge e1 has started and ended at the same vertex b1. Then this edge e1 is known as the self loop of that particular graph. Okay, and that self loop is counted twice. Now let us see what is a parallel edges in a graph. For a pair of vertices, if more than one edge is associated, then those edges are called parallel edges. As we have already known that in a graph, let us see in this graph, b1, b2, v3 is the vertex of this particular graph, and e1, e2, e3 and e4 is the edges of this graph. Then you can see here the vertex v2 and v3 is joined through an edge e2 as well as the edge e3 also. Then you can see here e2 and e3. These two edges are parallel to each other and have been joined with the same vertex v2 and v3. Then these two edges e2 and e3 are the parallel edges. Okay. Now let's see. While drawing a graph, it is not important whether line is straight or curved, long or short. What is important is the incidence between the vertex and the edge. For example, now let us see here. You can see here the different graphs. You can see here the 8 graphs. Probably you are thinking these are the different graphs, but these are the same graphs, perhaps drawn differently. Okay, let's see how. As you can see here, here there are 4 vertex, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and here you can see 1 2 3 4. Here also 4 vertex. Look, the vertex 1 is connected to the vertex 4, and as well as 1 is connected to 2. Okay, and in this graph the vertex 1 is connected to 4 and 1 is connected to 2 as well. Here you can see 4 is connected to 3 and 2 is connected to 3. Here also 2 is connected to 3 and 4 is also connected to 3. Here you can see 1 is connected to 2 and 4. Here also you can see that 1 is connected to 2 as well as 4. Here 3 is connected to 2 and 4. Here 3 is also connected to 2 and 4. Look here, 1 is connected to 2 or 4. 3 is connected to 2 or 4. From here we came to know that these all 8 graphs are same graphs. Perhaps they are drawn differently. So it doesn't matter whether the lines of the graph are straight or something else. It is only important that the incidence between the vertex and the edges should be same. Then that graph are considered to be the same graph. If the incidence of vertex and the edges of the two graphs are same, then these two graphs are considered to be the same graphs. Okay. Now let us see what is a finite graph. A graph with finite number of vertices and finite number of edges is said to be a finite graph. Actually, finite graph is nothing but finite graph should have finite number of vertices as well as finite number of edges. Then that type of graph is known as a finite graph. Okay, thank you so much. This much for today. We'll meet in the next video. Please subscribe my YouTube channel.